Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you all being here on time. Cutting your lunch short to be here with us. I'm delighted to be here alongside our wonderful speakers. And I'm really looking forward to having a dynamic discussion on the topic of practical solutions, practical strategies for enhancing the lives of internally displaced people. I especially want to welcome and salute our speakers from Ukraine, who truly bear the brunt of this war on their shoulders, both personally and professionally. My name is Nadya Tkachenko, and I'm the founder and president of Project Nadya, which is a US and Ukraine-based NGO. The word Nadya means hope in Ukrainian. And our mission is to give Ukrainian people a little bit more hope. Our mission is to help them rebuild their lives by providing them with dignified medium-term housing and coupling that with supportive strategies, supportive structures for social integration and economic adaptation. Our objective today for this discussion is to talk about the needs of internally displaced people and to see how they're shifting over time and how they may be different from one region to another. We also will think about gaps in services as well as imbalances. And the main goal is really to come up with recommendations or discuss ideas for practical strategies, innovative strategies, durable solutions that will help enhance the lives of internally displaced people. So we're 19 months into the full-scale invasion now, 9 years into the war. The needs of internally displaced people are certainly changing. They're shifting all the time, but they're not diminishing. And they vary based on many different factors. They vary on the region and where people came from and where they're settling. They vary depending on their family composition, on their socioeconomic situation, and so on and so forth. And I'm sure our speakers will dive into much more into the details of different needs. Some of the needs are obvious, like housing. Everybody needs a place to live. In fact, housing is such a dire need, and it's kind of shifting from the need for emergency shelter to more permanent social housing that we dedicated a separate panel to that topic tomorrow. We hope that you will join us there. And also psychological support is such an extensive need that, as you see, that we've dedicated several panels to that during this event. So some needs are obvious, others are more hidden, like isolation, discrimination, sexual and physical abuse, and also the risk of human trafficking. And we're going to touch upon some of those risks and some of those challenges today as well. There are many vulnerable groups that need tailored solutions. So children, the elderly, children who've been orphaned, people with disabilities, people who are stateless sometimes go overlooked. So we're going to touch upon that as well a little bit today. So the needs are really and truly diverse. They're shifting. And that is why I'm so excited to have such a diverse group of speakers today. We have voices represented from Ukraine, many voices from Ukraine, some international voices. We have a municipality represented here, some global organizations with a long history and extensive experience. And some grassroots organizations that were formed as a response to the full-scale invasion. So all the voices are important. Everybody is doing incredible work already. And that also includes a lot of you in the audience. I know there's many organizations represented here who are doing their best, doing a lot of work to help internally displaced people. So I want to thank all of you for your efforts. But we also all know that not all needs are being met. And some needs don't even have adequate solutions at this time. So this is our goal, is to talk about the needs and how they're shifting, discuss gaps and imbalances, and then think about recommendations that we can give to each other, to the audience, or just kind of explore ideas for more durable, innovative, and sustainable solutions for internally displaced people. So, without further ado, I'm going to ask all speakers to actually introduce themselves very briefly, just saying your name, what organization or entity you work for, and if you'd like to share the mission of your organization in one sentence, that would be great. And after that, I will dive into kind of bigger questions for us to discuss. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Yuliia Darnytska. I'm from Chernihiv, and I'm a member of City Council. And my mission now to help to recover our city, because it suffered a lot from Russian invasion. And it's in the north, it's 70 kilometers from Belarus and 100 kilometers from Russian border. All my work is connected now with recovery and helping people.
Thank you. My name is Sachenko. I'm also from Ukraine, but I'm representing today the international organization A21, which is the counter-trafficking organization. And for 10 and more years we have been working in Ukraine, and I was the country manager there. Since the full-scale invasion started, we have been relocated to Poland. And we have crossed the border just like many other millions of women and children, and we have gone through the same vulnerability as they were going through, and basically we became in a sort of very interesting status here in Poland, being Ukrainian, being refugees, being experts in countering human trafficking, in the middle of the biggest refugee crisis. So we felt compelled to do something immediately and started working here. And for the year and a half, we are working to prevent human trafficking among the refugees from Ukraine. And also we continue our work in Ukraine with our partners in Ukraine, with law enforcement and so on. Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Kateryna, and I'm representing Children of Heroes charity fund. I'm also from Ukraine, and actually we are the one organization Nadya has mentioned, the grassroots, the one that has been founded as a response to a full-scale war in Ukraine. And the mission of our organization is to support in a long-term way the children who have lost one or both parents because of war. These are the children of both the soldiers, the fallen soldiers of Ukraine, and the majority of the children under the care of our fund are the children of the soldiers. But we also take care of the children of the civilians who have died because of different war events, starting with occupation, ending up with rocket attacks, and the children we take care of, they are all over Ukraine.
My name is Ela Janczur. I am representing SOS Children's Villages International. I am also the board member of SOS Children's Villages Ukraine. Before the war in Ukraine, we were leading the networks of foster care. We were also supporting families at risk to lose parental care, and we were very strong in advocacy for deinstitutionalization. When the war started, we also changed our focus, and we are now providing services for internally displaced people, comprehensive services.
Hello, I'm Oksana Gedz, and I'm very happy and honored to be here to represent R2P, Right to Protection organization. I'm a advocacy coordinator of this organization. It was established in 2001 as a representative office of Hayas, and then in 2013 it was split off as a national organization. Now Right to Protection is an all national Ukrainian human rights and humanitarian organization, with dedicated focus to vulnerable populations. Our main focus revolves around internally displaced persons, externally displaced persons, as well as refugees, stateless persons, and all other vulnerable populations affected by the war.
Hi everyone, my name is Biloshapka and I'm Director of Partnership and Network at STIPD, a charity foundation. We began our work as a reaction for full invasion, and right now we provided assistance to more than 1 million Ukrainians. The mission of our organization is to match the needs of the Ukrainians with ability of support. So this main idea where we are implementing our services for Ukrainians who are our beneficiaries in special ecosystem, which I guess I will share later. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm glad to be here with all you lovely ladies. My name is Michael Capone. I'm the president of Global Empowerment Mission. So we played a pretty significant role in the very beginning by relocating people. I think we relocated about 38,000 people to 53 different countries. This is in the first 3 months of the onset of the war. Then we realized that Putin had pulled out and a lot of people wanted to go back. So we completely halted those funds, and then we started applying them towards programs to get people back inside Ukraine. And we'll obviously speak a lot more, but just to give you the gist of it, we come up with immediate solutions for immediate cases of IDPs. For example, a bomb goes off in Odessa, there's a building that explodes, everybody's homeless, right? So we don't want those people to basically go all the way back to Kyiv. We don't want them to go back to Poland. They want to stay in Odessa. So what do? You find some building in the neighborhood, you chop it up with drywall, and you compartmentalize it, you put systems in there, and literally within 3 weeks, you have a shelter. And you build that really cost-effective and quickly. And those are the kind of things that we do every day.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the introductions. As you can see, this is such a diverse group of speakers, people with big hearts and a huge passion for supporting Ukrainian people who have been displaced by the war. So within the framework of this summit, which is called the Roadmap to Freedom and Recovery, we really want to look at the question of displacement and its solutions we're providing as part of kind of the bigger continuum, from more immediate humanitarian aid to strategies for sustainability and eventually to recovery. So I want to kind of start with that question and address it, to start with Ksenia from Right to Protection, in terms of this continuum from immediate aid to strategies for sustainability and eventually to recovery. How have the solutions of your organization, Right to Protection, how have they evolved? How have they shifted? And what are some of the solutions that you're finding to be the most effective that will lead towards eventual recovery?
The last 2 years have been truly eye-opening for those who are working in humanitarian sphere, because this experience of displacement, it becomes personal for all of a lot of millions of Ukrainians. Moreover, a lot of our employees also survived displacement as well. At the start of the full-scale invasion, our organization first helped to relocate our employees with their families, and then we started to completely revise and change our structure and complementing directions that were enforced. It was before the full-scale invasion, it was legal aid, protection monitoring, advocacy, and strategic litigation. We added also, I believe that 7 new programs, seven new kinds of assistance. So we developed new areas. That was mental health and psychological support, it was social assistance, it was camp management and camp coordination, CCCM. It was also economic resilience and social cohesion. And now we are working on developing other spheres. So what we realized during these years, have taught us to emphasize the importance of this transitional framework from humanitarian response to elaboration some durable, sustainable solutions for IDPs, for them to create possibilities and options to be self-reliant. And in this case, we realized that we need to address not only housing issues, but also some kind of employment, educational initiatives, as well as social assistance for the most vulnerable one. And if we are talking about housing issues, from the start of the war in 2014, we were conducting monitoring of housing conditions in collective sites. So to show the statistics, as of July 2020, there was 171 collective sites in which 7,000 people reside. But in October 2022, in Ukraine exist near 6,000 collective sites with 1 million IDPs residing there. And in May 2023, now exist 4,000 collective sites with 150,000 IDPs residing there. So we do realize that from the need, from the urgent need of resettlement of IDPs, we went to needs of winterization, creation of the IDPs, some kind of technical issues connected to refurbishment. But then we understood that now it's a time to elaborate some legal framework for IDPs, and it was elaborated and adopted in July this year. The Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine elaborated legal regulation of collective sites, and now it's it's time to think about exit idea, how to exit from collective sites to some long-term, durable, sustainable solution for IDPs, to provide them with or temporal housing or social housing, to give them dignified conditions to live. If we talk about employment, this sphere we need to address digital soft skills for IDPs, as well as some kind of vocational trainings, and to give people who are affected by the war with all the instruments and resources to regain them their self-reliance. And if we are talking about social assistance, we need to understand that we have a crisis in social assistance because the quantity of people who need social help and assistance are increasing day by day, and during this process the capacity of authorities to ensure this social assistance and social services are low because of a lot of social workers fled Ukraine, and it's a time when, for example, a non-governmental organization could help. That's why we need to think about some durable solution also for vulnerable population, to provide them with social services, to give them an adequate life and life being.
Thank you so much, Ksenia. I really like it how you spelled out for us some of the gaps in service and some things that need to be in place in order for your work to be effective, like legal frameworks, trainings in IT capabilities, and also expanding and increasing the capacity for social workers of social workers in order for you to provide your services more effectively and a more broader spectrum. Thank you. I want to pass the mic to Anna, and I know that your organization, Spivdia, is also covering quite a broad spectrum of services to support internally displaced people. Your organization is very new, or relatively new, which was formed in response to the full-scale invasion, so it's a grassroots initiative. And I know that some of the approaches that you use are very innovative, so we'd love to hear a little bit more about how you began your work and how you evolved it, and what are some of the solutions that you're finding effective.
Thank you. Yeah, so we are a new organization, but the idea that we came up with that we want to create a platform because when the full invasion started, it was really chaos with humanitarian assistance, and our founders, they decided to create a platform where we can match resources that people have with people's needs. But that didn't work because we got like in a month 30,000 applications for needs and only 300 applications for resources. That's how we started to do a job and to partner with different organizations in Poland and all over the world and created humanitarian assistance. But it's bad to say, but like the war has started not just with full invasion in 2014, and we had experience as a country to cooperate with some crisis. That's why we understood that humanitarian assistance is emergency response. And we launched 7 different services from the very beginning in March to understand that the person who came to us and left the request that I need humanitarian assistance is just first touch. But then we are trying to dive into his needs, and with what we are doing next, we are providing psychological support, career counseling to make sure that person can have this career consultation and find a new job and to be self-efficient, not to wait help from other donors, but to do something by their own. We also had program with shelters where we were coming like with our mobile team and providing such services to people who are living in shelters. We have special program for children, IDPs children, in 20 regions in Ukraine for psycho-emotional support. Also, we have our online hotline service with legal assistance. And right now we have kind of different pilot project with like a case management system for health and social services. So that's how we cover in an ecosystem of services to person who just maybe really needs some food, but then this person should have different services to really come up with ideas that I should live my life and be self-efficient and not to rely on someone, to rely just by your own. So that's a whole strategy that we were using at the very beginning, because we know that right now we have also humanitarian assistance in the area that are close to front line. But what is important is that we launched our platform, and we have our own CRM system, and we understood that we as an organization in Ukrainian, it's Spivdia means cooperation. So we're really cooperating with government. We are partners with different ministries and also with Office of the President that help us to gain the hotlines and to provide humanitarian assistance to people who were also asking help from the government. But we launched a network of Spivdia hubs. Right now we are presenting in 20 regions in Ukraine, and we have 25 regional partners, so we're like an umbrella organization, and we really have a database of like millions of Ukrainians that came to us and say, I need your help, and that's how we are like diving what the really needs are, and that's how based on this data we are providing different services. So, and this importance that needs of IDPs right now are really changing. And we see that, for example, if there are some organizations that are already providing, like, for example, services for kids in some region, we don't need it as an organization to be in this region because they're a really good partner. And so that's how we're not duplicating the activities. And it's important because in Ukraine there is a big problem about the coordination. And we have a lot of IDPs. Even I am a Ukrainian. I was in Ukraine when the full invasion has started. I also need some help. I also need psychological support. I also can need legal assistance. Maybe I can provide it by my own, not by my own resources, but at the same time, all of Ukrainians should have the access to really quality service. And it also can be an NGO organization that works as an operator for providing such services, not services that we are usually trying to take from the government. So that's important that right now we are trying to create this like common space to make this coordination between different organizations in Ukraine, in each region, who is providing what services, to make sure that Ukrainian beneficiary can come to our website and then see, for example, like what's the region, what's the services, what's the actors there, and if for example, Maria can take some assistance from Spivdia because it's, for example, like full booked schedule, so she should know for whom she should come, right? Who is given the same or another services, to be sure that Ukrainian can get it free, in a fast way, and really effectively. And that's good that we are proud of our IT team, that most of them are volunteers, that we have good analytics and database to analyze how the needs are changing, how to connect IDPs with their and cover really their needs, where they are now, how we can reach them out. We have case management system. It's like a call center that are covering each cases of IDPs and close and propose them different services. So I believe that like all of our instruments that we are using right now, like each of our organization, it's important thing because we are covering some part of problem, because there is a lot of different problems, and there are no competitors in this sphere, and I'm really one of the, like all Ukrainians or all RDPs should get this access to really quality services that can be provided by NGO, by government, by business who are doing the corporate social work, right? And by another actors that just want to help Ukrainians to deal with their problems and to be self-efficient. So.
Anna, I really like your approach, and keywords that I'm hearing from you is collaboration, no competition between organizations, quick access to needed resources by the internally displaced people. And I also like how what you're highlighting is that to be effective, the services really and truly have to be needs-based. And your assessment is also data-driven, because you're able to collect that data from requests that come directly from people, and so you can see what is covered and where the gaps are, and you can provide that needs-based assistance that's differentiated for different regions, I imagine. I have a quick follow-up question. Is your database available to other organizations who are trying to do similar work, so they can take a look and say, oh, I thought this was needed in, say, Ivano-Frankivsk, but actually another organization as Spivdia is already covering it. So I know that Ukrainian people can access the database, but can organizations have kind of back-end access to what is being provided?
That's personal data, so we also have agreement with each of the beneficiaries that we can share this data, because it's not allowable, but what we are doing is that, for example, if we are partnering with someone, we have a Power BI analytics system with, let's say, the infographic about the data that we are managing, not to share the real person name and private information, but for example, when we're partnered with Blue Check Ukraine, it's a US organization that fundraising for Ukrainian NGOs, and we were cooperating with them with like humanitarian assistance in some region, and we had meeting with them, and like they were asking, what do you need? And we really know what they need, because we are showing them the statistics, the data, that this region, we have the most application. Right now, like 400,000 people are waiting, for example, and that's how we are sharing the data, that it's accountable, right? And we can prove that it's really data. But we can't share it to everyone. But if, for example, there's a specific point in specific service, with partners during the meeting, we can discuss and also share some general information about changes of needs, or, for example, presence in each region.
Thank you. I think it's really important for all of us working at different humanitarian organizations to have access to this data, kind of, very, very timely data, so that we're not duplicating efforts, so that we're providing what's truly needed. Thank you so much. So I want to pass the mic to Michael. Your organization is known to me as an organization that provides immediate humanitarian response. So you guys are really good at doing that, and I know you are on the ground in Ukraine really quickly. How do the services that Global Empowerment Mission provides, how do they fit on that spectrum or continuum from immediate humanitarian aid to solutions for sustainability to eventually recovery? where are you at right now? What are you doing that feels really effective?
Thank you. So the first thing we do that's on a large scale is we supply the 600-mile stretch of the front line, about 200,000 boxes of family food kits, and all that food is grown in Ukraine, so it goes farm to front line. That's what it's called, literally. That produces jobs, and it gets basic living necessities to the great majority of the people on the front line. We calculate, basically what's needed every single month with all the different heads of small towns and governments, and they tell us that. Then an area in the front line, for example, let's take Avdiivka or take Bakhmut, for example. We used to supply that, and then it gets overtaken. The people from Avdiivka now moved, and they're in a different region. But the regional head of Avdiivka is still kind of overseeing, right, where all those IDPs are now. So he will contact us and say, okay, there's X amount of families in this location now. We need 2,000 blankets, we need 20 generators, we need, washing machines, and they're at the center. And then as a supplier from our warehouse in Kyiv, we will supply that. The reason everybody needs to stay in their lane is you can't do everything. She can't do what we do, and we can't do what she does, right? There's no chance that we can go into individual case management. We do that in other countries, but at the same time be a supplier and all those things, right? That's why everybody here is needed to work together. So, for example, what you do, we can work well together. You have these master lists. We can't go and deliver box by box to each individual people, but we can give you, for example, 5,000 boxes, and you'll go deliver them to your people like Meals on Wheels, right? And it fills a void. And the other, I think, important thing that we do is we've imported, I think, over like 8,000 mattresses, for example. So we supply the IDP shelters, right? But we don't manage them. And all those are very, very important needs. Also, like I talked about on the other panel, the windows thing. Preventing them from becoming IDPs is actually even more important, right? Because if you nip it in the butt in the beginning, right? So every time there's an explosion and a whole bunch of surrounding buildings lose all their windows, it is actually much cheaper to spend $500 and change those 2 windows and put people back in that apartment, which is what they want, rather than having them go on a bus somewhere to another town and sleep on a cot with their little kids and all of that, right? So those are all different preventative things that we do. And then again, I'll just bring this up because I think dollar versus impact is very important. There's a lot of real estate in Ukraine. There's a lot of empty buildings. So whenever I hear someone that is going to import this, $30,000 container and spend $10,000 shipping it to place 10 squash families in a container, it makes no sense to me. When for a quarter of those costs, you could take an existing building, renovate it, and put that family in there, right? So you got to start using more of the availability in Ukraine right now before you start importing a bunch of things in there to create housing solutions.
Thank you so much. I really like what you're saying, that the most durable solution is to use what already exists there, like buildings that already exist. They just need to be renovated. Or one of the durable solutions to help internally displaced situation, or the situation of displacement, is to prevent people from becoming internally displaced people.
Exactly. Like we're in Hawaii right now, for example, after the fires. That's a reverse situation. There is not enough housing for all the people that lost their homes, so you have to import prefab housing to house them. They'll have nowhere else to sleep. But here, there's plenty of solutions other than that.
Thank you very much, Michael. I want to open the floor to Ela. Ela is coming from an organization that is known to me as an organization that had nothing to do with emergency situations before the war began. And so your mission's changed, your mission really evolved and really changed, and now your organization is playing a big role in supporting families with children who are internally displaced all over Ukraine. So tell us a little bit more about that evolution and also solutions that you feel are really effective.
Yes, we had to change within 24 hours. From long-term care Rising Children, which is a long process, to emergency response programs. We started a little bit before, a few days before the war, because our beneficiaries were transferred with the family to the Polish border. We said them, you are going for winter holidays. We took the families from Browary village, from Lugansk region, foster families. And when the war started, they were within 2 hours in Poland, in Polish as well as children's villages. We also lost for 2-3 days contact with our co-workers working in our projects in eastern Ukraine. But after some time they called us and say, I am here, I am in Uzhhorod, I am in Poltava, how can I help people? And that's how our new project started. Whenever we had someone, we established a center of support. We call it Family Strengthening Centers, where we give comprehensive support like mental, I don't mention already this basic support we all do, but we started with cash and vouchers already the 3rd day of the war. This was the quickest solution. In these centers we have 14 right now, and they were first established in Western Ukraine. Now we are going back to East. The last one was opened in Izium 2 weeks ago. We provide comprehensive services to internally displaced people. We still have this basic support which is needed, but now we are shifting more to MHPSS. We are shifting more to self-employment. We organize courses and training for people who want to work on their own and give them mini grants to start their own small business. Concerning MHPSS, also we are shifting a little bit because we started with recovering camps and for families, for children and families. Now we also add one more element. We are thinking also about fathers coming from the front line. They are bringing their traumas into the families, and this is a big trauma. So the new program is launched for men, for fathers coming from the front line. Besides all these activities, we helped injured and are helping injured children, and we are doing reunification of families, bringing children from Russian territory to their families. On top of this, SOS is very active in advocacy for deinstitutionalization. We are working in this sphere of childcare, and we know that there is nothing better than a family environment for children. And we advocate very much with cooperating with the First Lady, that children who are coming now, because all children's homes were transferred also abroad, when they come back, better that they don't come to the same setup, big institutions. We want immediately they come to families. And this is the future oriented activity already. What else? Militarization, of course, but this is rather more emergency. And friendly space for children. In each place we are, we have a friendly space for children. This helps also integration for IDP children, because they are coming in different places, and we invite in these centers not only IDP people, but also local people, local children, so they can integrate. And some of these children can learn in the center Ukrainian language, yeah, because many of them don't speak, but it's a very interesting story. They are, and one table, many children speaking 2 different languages, and nobody is blaming that you cannot speak Ukrainian yet. Yeah, so it's really friendly.
That's great. Thank you so much, Ela. It's really amazing to see how your organization is expanding its work and really supporting families with children and working with children. You know, kids are really kind of the focus and the future of Ukraine as it will begin to recover and rebuild. And so I actually wanted to pass the mic to...
May I add one?
Yeah.
Before the war, we worked with 2,000 children. During the last year, we worked with 300,000 people.
Wow. That is a really impressive statistic to kind of let sink in. That's huge. But we'll stay on the topic of children, and I'll pass the mic to Kateryna. You've mentioned your organization already, which focuses on children of heroes. So tell us a little bit about your specific approach of how you're supporting these children and how your solutions are effective, how they're sustainable and durable from your perspective.
So when the war began, we have gathered together all people without any experience in charity, just people with passion to help these kids, and we have started with first 20 children in March 2022. As of today, we have 6,300 children under our support. Each of them has lost one or both parents because of war. And what is more horrific, in my opinion, is that this number is very dynamic. So it literally changes every day. Every day we have from 15 to 20 new children applying to our fund, because the war continues, and every day a new child loses his closest ones. In terms of our support programs, after we have understood that the scope is really large, we have divided our support programs into two different directions. The one is the emergency support, which included the one-off payment to a child, different legal emergency support, humanitarian support, emergency psychological support. And the second direction, which is more of a long-term, complex, comprehensive support. Because overall, the mission of the organization is to not just provide some kind of immediate support, and I think it was already mentioned a couple of times during today's discussion, and I think that it's a very important topic to make sure that we are sustainable in our help. So the global goal of the organization is to grow these children into ambitious, successful, and most importantly, happy leaders who will then be making a positive impact into the global society to which we will help them integrate to. And actually the approach was a little bit based on my own experience, because I am an IDP myself. I've become so in 2014 because I am actually from Avdiivka, very frontline city in Donbass. And in 2014 it was such an emotional turmoil for me. Coming to Kiev, abandoning my home, and now the situation with acceptance of internally displaced people is way better than it was in 2014, because back then what we were receiving maybe one-time humanitarian help and absolutely no understanding and no adaptation from the outside world. I have been constantly following the situation in Avdiivka. Before 2014 we had 33,000 people of population, and as of today there are still people staying there. The official number is 2,000 people, all of them are living in the basements, and I have been volunteering and coming there from time to time last year. The thing is that I have a lot of friends and people I know from this quite a small city, a town where everybody knows everyone, and the big surprise and the big challenge which I saw is that people have moved from Avdiivka to some cities like Dnipro, Kharkiv, larger cities. And the thing is that they couldn't adapt and they didn't receive that support they needed. And a lot of them came back to Avdiivka, even though it's under constant shelling. So like people prefer to live there in that, community they have formed. They'd rather stay there than living normal life, if we can say so, somewhere out of the town. So this is a key learning for me and a lesson for me that adaptation, individual approach, constant support, long-term support is very much needed. Sometimes support of just being there for them, giving an ear, given the understanding that they are not abandoned is even more important than just providing humanitarian or financial support. And in our fund we have quite a unique system of family helpers. They are so-called social workers. Each child is assigned to a family helper, and the main responsibility of a family helper is not to just direct various support programs that we have. We basically have everything you can imagine because we are trying to provide everything a parent would want to provide for his own child. But not just to direct the support programs that we have, be there for a child, know everything about this child, know a child's hobbies, know his dreams and help a child to achieve these dreams. So yes, I think that was my
Through what age do they steward this child, the social workers, the family helpers? How long are they with the child?
We support children from 0 to 18, and if a child is a 0, or if a child, we even support pregnant women who have lost their husbands and they already have this child, and there are a lot of unfortunately cases when a child has never seen his dad in his entire life. So the child is so small, then a family helper provides help to a guardian, and of course we provide a lot of help to the guardian because we understand how the well-being of the guardian impacts the child. Sometimes a child doesn't even realize the loss that he already has and will be having until the end of his life. I'm always saying that the war will be over with the victory of Ukraine 100%, we all know that, but for these children who have given up the most important thing in their lives, this war will be until the end of their lives. So
yeah, thank you so much. It's really impressive to hear about the long-term work that your social workers are doing with each individual child, and that is really, to me, strikes me as a sustainable solution. It's not a one-off therapy session, it's not a one-off play group for the child, but it's one person taking care of the child's needs for a really long time, and also the aspect of supporting the caregivers is really important, because if the caregivers need psychological support or need some kind of guidance or training, it's going to help that child live in a more supportive environment.
I want to add one example, one case connected to psychological support and the importance of building this bridge of trust between the guardian or a child and between a family helper. So we have a lot of cases, and I think it's a very common stereotype in Ukraine that psychological support is something bad. It's not for me, like I'm not sick, I won't be visiting a psychologist, and each of us needs a psychologist, especially Ukrainians, I think. Whether you had the loss or no, you need this therapy. But the children and the guardians we take care of, they need it so much. And there were a lot of cases when the guardian was refusing for quite a long to visit a psychologist to get this help. And there are a lot of cases when, after communicating with a family helper, building this communicational link and connection, they have agreed to receive it. And for us, this is always a very big victory, and it also claims the importance of the sustainable and long-term cooperation and support.
That's fantastic, thank you. And also, thank you, Kateryna, for sharing your personal story. I know it's not always easy to share those stories, and your experience of displacement comes from 2014, and I know that that first wave of displacement was not always handled perfectly, and we can hopefully learn from those mistakes and do things better this time around, and I think we're already learning from those mistakes and doing things better, so thank you. We're going to pivot a little bit as we pass the mic to Yuliia. So we've talked a lot about some of the needs that are more evident, more on the surface. We kind of realize that people need psychological support, they need vocational training, and so on and so forth. Let's talk a little bit more about the hidden needs, which is something that your organization has been working on in the past, also back in 2014. Some of the lessons you learned from that time that can actually inform us for what's coming potentially in the near future through this wave of displacement that we're experiencing right now.
Yes, thank you so much. Actually, it's not easy to do the panel after the lunch, right? So I see people. I hope you all are in focus. And yeah, because the topic that we are raising is very hard, and I believe that all the people presenting today are heroes, because you are saving lives and supporting people, which is extremely important and valuable this time. So speaking about human trafficking, Ukraine was the country of origin, country of transit, and country of destination for human traffickers even before the war. And every year, according to the International Office for Migration, about 1,000 survivors were sort of applying or registered as victims of human trafficking. So before the war, we had a very active work cooperating with the government, with the ministries, with law enforcement, with the state agencies, with international and local organizations. We were providing trainings and active trauma-informed and victim-centered holistic approach to rehabilitation of survivors of human trafficking. So we were quite busy, and we had a lot of projects and plans ahead, but the war has changed everything. And since we became refugees ourselves, as I have mentioned before, it happened that we have crossed the border. Actually, we were staying in the line for 2 days with little kids in our back seats, with high fever and sick, and it was like an awful experience. But it happened that we have been crossing the border in the middle of the night, and the thing that I have seen there impacted my life forever, because I have seen hundreds of women with children on their laps, with bags, in the middle of the night, like about 500 people in the crowd, and border guards are trying to keep them together. And there is no place to breastfeed. There is like noise everywhere. It's cold. It's February. It's night. And these people are extremely vulnerable. Extremely vulnerable. And as we were crossing the border, even to us, there were like several attempts to approach with different offers, which were not quite appropriate. And of course, we as experts from the counter-trafficking background, we know how to react and how to protect ourselves, but we were just thinking of those people, those poor women who were crossing the border, and potentially even someone has given them the leaflet about human trafficking or something. But in that mess, in that chaos, you don't read that. You're focusing just to cross the border to find yourself in a safer space, right, in a safer area. And that was basically the huge impact. This experience was the huge impact for us. So obviously we started working, and all our experience, all our work has pivoted, and we started cooperating with different NGOs and big corporations, and for example, Clear Channel, which is advertising agency, has provided us with 88 billboards across the country where we posted information. We were also providing and distributing our materials on both sides of the border in cooperation with Ukrainian police and Polish NGOs. We were training border guards and army employees who came to Polish border from the US and Canada, and so we did a lot of other stuff. We have vetted the hotlines, counter-trafficking hotlines all across the Europe to be able to collect them together on one side and provide the QR code to the refugees who are crossing the border to Europe, so that they would be able, in case of something, they would be able to find the hotline and call and have help. But obviously this is not enough, and I understand that that cannot be a competition here, because we all need every one of us, and we need more organizations like ours, because basically we have now the situation with, like at this point of time, I'm not sure, but on the beginning of 2023 we have had about 4 million of refugees in Europe and other countries. We have about 5 million of displaced people within Ukraine, and also from 2 to 4 million of people deported to Russia, which are extremely vulnerable to human trafficking. And if in Ukraine and Europe and the rest of the world, we can manage this situation to some extent. Speaking about Russia, we don't really know what's going on there. And there is a huge amount of children there which are subjected to the adoption, quick and procedure of adoption. And we can actually, through this, we can lose track of them and lose them forever, because their identity may be changed, and basically we will probably not be able to find them and return them back to Ukraine. And those who are returned back, there are very few of them, but they are returning traumatized and shocked, and in some cases brainwashed. In some cases they have gone through incredible violence and trafficking. So we need to be really clear on that. We are also talking about that the demand on sex services with Ukrainian nationals has grown in Europe by 300%, which is shocking. And we also need to address this issue. And in the end of the day, we know that the situation and the scale is huge. But at the same time, we see that local authorities report very few cases, and there are many reasons to that as well. First of all, we all want to present our countries as a safe country, right? To receive refugees, and also Some cases may be under investigation and are kept in secret, which is also understandable. In some cases, refugees who suffered from trafficking and exploitation may not report because they don't want to, they are afraid simply, or they don't want to, ruin their life or lose the shelter or something like that. But in most of the cases, those cases are still to be discovered. They are still hidden, and we should keep that in mind, that human trafficking and exploitation is held in secret. It has the hidden nature, and we will only know about that only when the person is rescued or escape the situation. And this may happen in half a year, in 2 years, or even later. And we had a similar experience back in 2014, when the Russian invasion started in Donbas area, and there was non-governmentally controlled area. And there was a lot of talking and rumors that trafficking is happening there, exploitation is happening there, women, children, men are suffering from exploitation, but there were no proofs, no stories, no victims. And what we can do? Police can do nothing, police doesn't have any evidence, but the first cases started to appear only a year and a half later. That actually brings us to the thought that here, in this case, we may see something very similar. And it brings us to the idea that probably right now it's not the time to say, okay, we have a very few cases, then there is no human trafficking. It doesn't happen anywhere. It brings us actually to the thought that maybe now it's the right time to prepare ourselves, to prepare services, resources, facilities to provide a quality care to those survivors who will be discovered in future. And actually this is the huge work. And also we need to do the active prevention and awareness work right now to prevent next cases of human trafficking that may happen right now and may be lured and recruited right now. And so we have started basically doing these resources, and you may actually find some of those on your way out of this auditorium. And I have brought a couple of resources for children. These are the comic books, which are very easy to learn from, and this is specifically the comic book about the story of refugee family. Another comic book is about the online safety, which is crucial right now because a lot of children are, basically all of the children probably, are using their smartphones to communicate, to get together, to find friends, and so on, and they can be easily, involved into online or sex exploitation online. And so we are doing steps forward to prevent that, and I'm just inviting you to the thought that we need each other, and only in cooperation with each other we can do something for our beneficiaries.
Completely agree. Thank you so much, Yuliia, for sharing. Thank you for sharing your resources as well. I think that these resources would be useful for any humanitarian organization that deals with humans. And you can contact Yuliia, and she will probably be able to provide you with these resources that you can have in your centers and your support centers that could be really useful. So thank you. So moving on to Yuliia from Chernihiv. We're going to pivot a little bit once again, as Yuliia represents a municipality, which is a really important voice for us to have here in this discussion, because just as displaced people are very vulnerable and they're the focus of our conversation, communities, cities and towns can also experience various kinds of vulnerability and carry different burdens that have to do with the crisis of displacement, whether it's a time when a large number of population leaves a town, so that's a burden of one kind on a city or a town, or when a large group of IDPs come into the town, so that's another type of challenge to deal with. So can you speak a little bit more from your perspective of what were those challenges at the start of the invasion when a lot of people left Chernihiv? I know they've returned now, but it's just a kind of a lesson for all of us to hear about. And also, what are some of the pros and cons of having IDPs come in to the city?
Thank you. First of all, I want to say thanks for all NGOs and funds who help Ukraine in that topic, because of course I'm sure that no one wasn't ready for this, and we cannot cover all issues by city councils and government, because it's a lot amount of some problems. And if we speak about Chernihiv, the total amount of citizens, something about 270,000 people, and in March last year, I think 200,000 were evacuated in March because of our region were occupied and city was surrounded. So we were the city who small amount of our citizens stayed there. And later, when Russians left our region in April, people started to come back, and now we have almost all people returned. There is few reasons why they returned, because we as a city council helped to recover, to renovate their homes that were damaged. It's one. Second, a lot of international organizations helped to do that process. We have few temporary camps from containers, but it's not enough, of course. Also, Red Cross built now some new houses for people who lost their homes. And now I received the news two days ago that Rockwell company will build 400 flats for IDPs in the city. So total amount of IDPs now is 10,000. More of these people are from our region, because the border is near, and it's on bombing every day. So 20 kilometers zone from the border on attack every day. And of course, that people who are from our region, they know everything about Chernihiv. They have relatives here, friends, and they can meet with somebody. But we have, I think, maybe 30% of people from other regions, and there is a problem, as I see, that they are not common in what to do here, how to live, where to go, where to find some support, because we have a department of social help in the city, but it's not enough, and it's something, governmental. So it's not a friendly space for people. We have few centers for for women. We have center that opened international organizations. Also, we have our youth center was fully destroyed last year, and this February, my team in cooperation also with international organizations opened a new youth center where they can where they can come, get additional support, education, some free space to work, and some programs as a business incubator or something, and just to have networking there. So, if to say what I'm doing for the city in that topic. So I am on board of few NGO, and it's my work to cooperate with all organizations and find the solutions for this help. And to speak about some cooperation, we maybe you heard last month it was a rocket attack of Chernihiv in a theater. It was in a center in the middle of the day on Saturday, so a lot of people suffered, and it was not just damages of windows in all like center, but people got trauma, of course, and 15 organizations started working at the same moment to help people by psychological support, by financial support, and with that cooperation we can work now. Of course, it's never be enough, you know, all this support. But I hope we will build such, you know, effective way of partnership in our like future. And I think this event is a part of building such a partnership between everyone to find the best solutions to help. So,
yeah, I agree with you, Yuliia. Thank you for mentioning that. I think that this is just the beginning of a much bigger conversation, and I hope that this roundtable and this event in general will spur a lot of actions and a lot of partnerships that will lead to some really productive programs and results for people that we're all supporting. I have a follow-up question, and this can be for anybody actually at the roundtable. It's something that Yuliia alluded to, is this question of creating cohesion in the community, in the host community where IDPs are arriving and settling in. We talked a lot about different services that we're providing to support them, but what can we do to help them integrate into the community in the most friendly way, in the most painless way, the most supportive way? So anybody here?
I would like to zoom out and following the principle of leaving no behind, remember also about those vulnerable people who also suffer displacement, but there are no legal frameworks for them in current situation in Ukraine. So there are people who are externally displaced, and displaced from the dangerous territories of whose housing was destroyed or damaged and can't be renewed. So, and these people living externally abroad, Ukrainian refugees, as we say, as we call them, if they decided to return, there are no any kind of framework or social assistance or state support or any other kind of like legal social framework for them to reintegrate to the country, to reintegrate to the society. And it's a problem because we helping other vulnerable people, we forget about them. And following the principle leaving no behind, we need also to remember refugees, asylum seekers, and stateless persons who were living in Ukraine and were displaced as well, because these people are not entitled to this program and cash systems and state assistance as well. Which like Ukrainian citizens are entitled to. So these vulnerable categories of people are also like are excluded from the assistance. So there are like statistics that near like only 10% of refugees are entitled to medical service in Ukraine, and they are displaced. And due to the lack of documentation, these people are not entitled to other basic services such as IDPs, Ukrainian citizens are entitled.
So Ksenia, what needs to happen to help those people?
Like,
how can we
we're
support
talking
them?
about social cohesion. So in this social cohesion, we need to follow this principle, leaving no behind. One thing, and it's about uniting the society to rebuild and to renew the Ukraine, because we need to include all the people, all the citizens, not citizens, but like residing in Ukraine who were displaced, and to include them and to integrate them into society. And it's very important not to forget about them. And if like to zoom out, we need to think about like in a broader way about like reintegration framework for Ukraine, for newly liberated territories, for these territories that were occupied but will be liberated finally. And we need to think about like social, financial, educational reintegration of these people into society, into new Ukraine, because we need to have a strong country to fight the enemy.
Absolutely, yes. We need to be prepared to integrate people that are coming back and people who have been externally displaced that are going to be coming back into Ukraine. Thank you for bringing that issue to the surface, because it's also one of those questions and challenges that is kind of hidden. We're not really talking about it all that much as we're focusing on the more obvious needs.
And if we are talking about statistics, like before the full-scale invasion in 2022, in February 2022, there were like 500,000 refugees or like asylum seekers in Ukraine, and near like 50,000 stateless persons. And the problem is that during the war, all the asylum procedures are suspended by the State Immigration Service, because it's not the time for that. But well, we have like international obligation to do that. So it's also the question, because it's the time when the state immigration policy needs to be changed to find the people to rebuild Ukraine. Because if like talking about about displacement, it's like the second largest displacement crisis after the Second World War. We are talking about more than 10 million of Ukrainians, people who are living in Ukraine, and it's about 17% of the population of Ukraine. So, how to rebuild, how to develop, if we don't have sufficient sustainable instruments and mechanisms to reintegrate our people back to Ukraine.
Thank you, Ksenia, for mentioning this. And this actually leads me to kind of the next question that I wanted everybody to reflect on, is what mechanisms or what needs to be in place for your specific mission, for your organization to be more effective or to do what you really want to do on a larger scale, if that is your mission? Is it legislation? Is it capacity? Is it funding? What is it? Like, you get to make your wish right now, because that also is a part of sustainable solutions. We're all doing our best, we're all working really hard, but all organizations need support and need something to be able to do more, to be able to be more effective. So if you were to reflect on that, what do you need? What do you wish for? So we can start.
I comment here?
Go ahead.
There is a very highlighting example of how important it is for the funders and the donors to understand the conditions, how we operate, and how important it is to be flexible, and how important it is to be on the ground for proper reactions to the needs of those who we take care of. So last year we have been launching a project, Warmth for Children, preparing our children for tough winter, which was obvious, and part of this project was providing heaters to the children, electric heaters, and no one could, well, some of us could, but not on that scale. We couldn't think that there will be such damage to the critical infrastructure. So sometimes, and I think we have quite many non-governmental organizations here, we understand that having the funding from the donor may sometimes take up to 5 months, half a year, sometimes even a year. And of course we have this targeted funds for this specific project. And when we receive the funds in 3 months, if we are lucky, to buy these electric heaters when there is no power supply. That's an interesting situation we find ourselves in. So for me, a very important and key learning from that situation was to be flexible, be able to communicate, be able to listen to, and of course be able to explain the conditions we are at. And we have been able to redirect this funding into our new project, which was named Light for Children. And we were lucky to have such an understandable donor. But none of them are like that.
Yeah, so it's the ability to pivot and the ability to really listen to the needs and kind of act in time.
Exactly.
Is something that would help you be more effective. We have time for one more roundtable speaker to answer this question as well. Like, what would you need to change? What you need to be in place? Anna, go ahead.
I just want to add, we as an organization, the main idea about collaboration between different stakeholders. So, of course, each of the NGOs that are operating in different areas in Ukraine, even international organizations, that's important that we are doing our job and we are trying to, predict what will be next, right? To be ready for changes and to do it really fast. But my message will be about collaboration and power of collaboration. I don't believe that all NGOs that are now in Ukraine will be existing in 5 years. Even when the full invasion has started, we had thousands of NGOs that were operating humanitarian assistance. What we see now, there are only teams who has capacity to do this job, to have stable fundings, to have good partnership, and to have strategy. And that's a unique situation when Ukrainian organization in the huge crisis during the war, thinking about strategy. Maybe it sounds not funny, but we as an organization right now are trying to create strategy for 5 years if we don't understand what really will be in a year or even in 2 months, right? Even with Tkachenko dam, we didn't know that it will happen, but we react so fast. But the main point is that I believe that stability and sustainable organization will be only if they are cooperating with government. So it's necessary to have good partnership with government, with civil society organization, with businesses, with entrepreneurs that are leading in the area where you're operating as an NGO, and only in collaboration with government, NGO sector and business, that only will lead you to be sure that in a couple of years you will have opportunity to do your job good and to have support from the local authority, from on governmental level to create this national strategy and to be an implementation partner of this national strategy. As for us as an organization, it's a priority to create this platform of collaboration between different stakeholders. And I believe with such type of strategy, with such collaboration, then we will have good fundings, then we will see and we can predict and have this forecast about future needs of a country. Then we will, right now we can even start speaking about how we should create opportunities for people who are Ukrainians are abroad, how we should come back them to Ukraine, to rebuild Ukraine. And so my message is really clear. If we as an NGO want to be sustainable, we should have good partnership with each stakeholders to be sure that our mission will be achievable and will bring Ukraine victory. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. And my sincere hope is that this conversation and this event is actually going to be the beginning and pave the way for many partnerships. So don't be shy to come up to speakers that you heard today, to other people in the auditorium. and in the hall to strike up a conversation and talk about how you can support each other and how you can put your forces together to achieve your goals. We have very little time for questions, but we started 10 minutes early, so maybe we'll get a grace 5 minutes afterwards. So please, we'll welcome your questions. You can ask specific speakers if you want them to elaborate on something.
You can take which ones.
Claudia Klimowska, part of the organizing team, and as you can see, we're missing the microphone. Thank you so much for your wonderful contributions, and I loved how you kind of spoke to each other. And Nadya, you designed this panel so beautifully. Just thank you so much. It's been stellar. I've learned so much. I'm just wondering, it shows how much you've stepped up to fill out the void in Ukraine during the situation, and it seems that, it's been so long, but you're still stepping up for all the different challenges that are coming up. And I'm just thinking, as whatever the future holds, to what extent some of the activities that NGOs are right now carrying out in Ukraine are possibly also tasks to be continued by the government in the future, if and is that desirable, and if so, I'm wondering to what extent the knowledge and capacities that you're gaining are also transferred to the government. Are you in conversation? Is that something that we're also thinking about? Because of course that's also people that will also have to learn from your experiences. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the ideas that I want to say is that we will need rehabilitation centers. And we'll need it in a big amount, as I see. It's not only physical rehabilitation, but in mental health, because now it's more work of NGOs and initiatives like activists. In other hand, we'll have our army came back again. They will come back, and we will need to support them. I think we, as in a city council and government, need to prolong this idea from NGOs and bring this to national program.
Actually, thank you so much for the question. I will try to be brief, to not take a lot of time, but from the very beginning of our work in Ukraine, this was our main goal and main focus when we were entering the office of the minister or whatever official. The first question, we were presenting ourselves, but the first question was, what we can do for you, how we can make your life easier, how we can support you in the policy of fighting human trafficking. And basically, from our experience, this is the best way to build bridges and cooperate with local authorities, because basically the need is huge, and right now the need is even bigger than it was before. We all have a huge experience because we are working in the fields with people. We know exactly the needs, and if we will bring that knowledge to the government, to the officials, to the offices, and with not that thought that we have a better knowledge, we know better, we have better experience, but what we can do, how we can do it together. That's probably the best approach, and this is how we can do campaigns on the national level. This is how we can share our knowledge in trainings for the authorities, for law enforcement, etc., etc. This is how we can do actual work on the fields together, just to inviting them to our work and sharing our resources for free.
In my area, which is childcare, only the government can decide about the institutionalization. We can bring evidence, we can advocate, we can bring research, what is the best for the child, but this must be the government.
Just one point.
I guess it's really important regarding your question. In Ukraine right now we have new procedure when Ministry of Social Affairs will buy services from NGOs, and then, for example, we as an organization will be operator for government for providing, for example, mental health support. And that's how we will be paid, not by donors or international organization, but we will be paid by government to provide the same services as we do right now, but with the support of government. So that's really, I guess, amazing things that are starting in Ukraine right now, and I really hope that it will bring this sustainability to all needs of Ukrainians that will be.
Thank you, Ksenia. And I would like one more. I would like to add that it's what is like changing now. It's the role of civil society in the whole recovery and early recovery process, because we are not only participate in actual service provision, but we also are pioneering and piloting all the social services, and we also provide some kind of expertise. So it's very important for state authorities and local authorities to be ready and to be open for the dialogue with civil societies, because we could bring expertise, we could bring resources, and we could be their executors and performers of all the pilots and all the new initiatives that could be effective. So that's why it's very important, and it's civil society plays now crucial role in the whole development procedure.
Thank you. So we have very little time left. We'll take one more question.
Thanks. Ukraine is very grateful for all other countries to help and take care of refugees, and our Ukrainian communities help and take care about IDPs. But hearing about Avdiivka story, I just thought one question: what are the arguments? What are the issues to go back to the place they were born? I understand that that's home and that is from a big letter, and we can't just put people from one place to another place, but maybe from your perspective, what are the issues, what are the arguments to go back for Ukrainians, for refugees, and for IDPs? Thanks.
My personal opinion, I didn't come back. I stayed in Kiev since 2015. I was coming back and forth to visit my parents who've been living there until the rocket got to our apartment, and then they moved out in 2022. But what I hear from people is that they have formed their society there. They have formed community which understands them, and people outside of that space, when you live in the basement, you have no electricity since April 2022. You have no water since February 2022. No connection, no internet, nothing. So it's literally a different planet, and from our perspective, we may think of how people are living there, how can they do that? And a lot of people outside of Ukraine, from the US, they keep asking me questions how are you living in Kiev? It's war there. So these are different extents, but coming back to Nadya's question in regards to what can be done to integrate people together, we are lacking this a lot. And I would just quickly suggest there is this new film, 20 Days of Mariupol, which I suggest watching everyone to, this film will break you completely, but it's needed to do in order to understand what these people are coming through, because this gap is way less than it was in 2014. Back then it was super huge, but now it is still existing, and we have to make the maximum out of each of us, not only speaking about government or civil society organizations, businesses, each of us is here to make this step forward to these people who have appeared in these difficult circumstances.
Thank you for your question. Thank you for sharing the story.
Can I also reflect on that? I would suggest that there is like the most horrible what can be for the person, it's uncertainty. Whether it's uncertainty legal or it's like social or safety uncertainty. So I believe that until Ukraine provides this uncertainty in access to education, employment, housing, safety, it's very difficult to say, to promise nice well-being in Ukraine. So it's about certainty and like the positive obligation of our country to provide all the mechanisms and instruments for their citizens and externally displaced, internally displaced, for them to return, whether it's like inside of the country or outside.
Thank you, Ksenia. So to wrap things up, and we had a really great discussion today, and I learned so much, and again, this is just the beginning. Please continue these conversations with our esteemed speakers and also between each other. For me, some of the keywords that jump out are needs-based, cooperation, prepare for what's coming, and I'm going to actually ask all the speakers to think about one word or two words that are kind of summarizing what you're taking away today, or maybe a recommendation that you will summarize in one or two words. And we can start with Michael.
Sorry, it won't be two words. I think it's important that we also look at empowerment, right? Global empowerment. So when you tell a person that thinks they're sick, that they're sick, they're going to become even more sick. When you look at a person who thinks they're sick and you tell them that they're not sick and you give them hope, right? You bring them to light. Everyone sitting here is more in their power today than before the war. Do you agree? Do you agree? Do you agree? Why? Because you have found what it is that you do, and because of that, you have found. I was a former full-fledged heroin addict when I was young. I ended up in the streets. I spent 45 days in a blizzard of 96 and minus 20 degrees as a homeless person, begging for tokens. I had 3 brain tumors that all got out in 60 surgeries. I lost my father. I had a soulmate loss in a car accident. If you gave me $10 billion and asked me to erase any one of those things from my life, I would not take it. Those were the best lessons. I leave here with coding you all from my own experiences and me being in 53 different countries on all continents, speaking to millions of people, that if you hold their hand and give them light and you become the lighthouse and you radiate so much light and you put them through that passage, that all things happen for a reason, and at some point in time, you will understand all of this and to trust in the divine and all that's occurred. You will skip them, all the therapy, all the Xanax, all the all this stuff. Otherwise you'll put them on that road. And it's so important, and I know this from helping thousands and thousands of people. And we have families that hid in bunkers while Russian soldiers shot and killed all their neighbors. And we went back and we gave them hope and we repaired their house. And now they're in their power, and they're the lighthouses of their community, and now they gather their community together, and they have become something that they weren't even before the war. And that's the channel that you need to put people on, right? Rather than only trying to find government solutions, therapists, psychiatrists, all this stuff, because that's also necessary for a group of people, but not all groups of people.
Thank you, Michael. And ultimately, we're all here not to patch things up, but to actually empower Ukrainian people. So I'm getting your words are hope and empowerment. That's what we're wrapping up with. Yeah, Anna.
Yeah, my words are spivdia means cooperation, so spivdia is essential. That's it. Thank you.
And I would just like to make some kind of call for all the present to to think about what is durable and sustainable solution will be in Ukrainian context, because it's not like in guiding principles of internal displacement to read and to apply. It's about our Ukrainian context. What is durable for us?
There is such a space for cooperation between different NGOs. We complement each other. We don't have to consider each other as competition in fundraising. We are together, we are stronger. Slava Ukraini.
From my side, I support each speaker today, and it finds a very big calling in my heart. The other thing would be complexity of the support and adaptation for each who needs this.
My two words are preparation and cooperation. So let's get prepared to the future and let's do it together.
My first word is partnership, and the second sentence is idea. I think that the best time for help Ukraine is now, and the best time to cooperate with Ukraine is now, and the best time to invest to Ukraine is now. So please.
Thank you. This is a perfect ending. I just want to give all of our speakers applause. Thank you so much for coming. And again, please talk to us after the event. We'll be happy to answer additional questions. Thank you so much. We'll ask the speakers to stay for a photo.